Mesa Boogies are some of the most revered amplifiers of all time, and while I hardly ever feature them on this channel, a 2000s triple rectifier was the amplifier that I pretty much used to play every day when I was a teenager in my first band. And there was absolutely nothing wrong with that amp. It was actually insanely awesome, but at the time I didn't know anything about dialing in tones, so I pretty much stuck to a 𝗕𝗏 sort of thing. And the amp wasn't even mine. It was the bass players who had a rich dad who decked out their garage with a jam room so his kids wouldn't hate him when they found out how much he cheated on their mom. But I'm getting off track. The triple rectifier was awesome for what we were doing, which was late stage or post-grunge with tinges of nu metal. Think Trust Company or something along those lines. But I started getting more and more into various genres of extreme metal, and I always felt like the triple rec was a little saggy in the low end and a little fizzy in the top end for fast music. I've always enjoyed the way that they sound on albums, I've just never really enjoyed playing one. What's the secret? What do you do to get it to sound good? I also didn't know what boosting an amp was because I was like 17 and there was hardly an internet then, so there's that. So after my friend's dad got busted with a much younger woman and his idyllic family life that I used to envy started to fall apart, I realized it was time to get my own tube amp. So I went with an amp that had a grill, but not a tread plate. If you can figure out what that one is, leave it down in the comments because
that's all I had to say about that.
But I've never forgot about those big boy girthy Chungus tones, and when the opportunity came up to try a Mesa Mark 7, which claims to cover the full gamut of Mesa's tonal offerings, I jumped on it. I mean, I didn't literally jump, it's an expression. So today we are going to explore the Mesa Boogie Mark 7 and more importantly, figure out how we went from a Fender Princeton to one of the most coveted amplifiers for all of heavy metal. The Mark 7 is honestly a modern marvel of amplifier engineering. There's a lot of specs to go over with this amplifier, but I am going to try and give you all of the highlights here because there's just a lot that this thing does. The Mesa Boogie Mark 7 is a 90 watt head. Now on every channel you can actually change the wattage from the full 90 watts down to 45 watts or even 25 watts if you want to limit the headroom and make the volume easier to get under control. Oh, did I already mention there's 3 channels? There's 3 channels with 3 selectable modes each. The first channel has your classic Mark modes. It has clean, fat, and crunch. The second channel is the Mark 7 modes. You have a fat mode and a crunch mode for this channel, but they're voiced slightly differently. We will compare these later on in the video. You also have the Mark 7 mode on channel 2, which is sort of like a combination of a Mark Series and a rectifier, according to Mesa. And then on channel 3, you have the classic bangers. You have the Mark 2B, the Mark 2C. I believe this is the C+ voicing. That's the way Mesa presented it on their launch video, at least. And then you have the Mark 4 mode. Every channel has its own independent gain, treble, mid, bass, presence, and master volume controls. There's a 5-band graphic EQ that you can turn on or off per channel. The Mesa Boogie Mark 7 also features a simulclass power section and offers 3 distinct characters across the amp's 3 wattage ranges. Again, those are selectable per channel. It has a built-in cab clone IR with 8 cab IRs, plus you can load your own IRs if you want to. Plus, there's a built-in load on this amp, so you can just turn this thing on and plug your headphones in if you just want to jam silently. You know, silently for other people in your house, not you, obviously. There's a bias select switch between 6L6 and EL34, a 2-buffered series effects loop. It has built-in reverb that's foot switchable and controllable per channel. Speaking of the switchable reverb, you do get a 6-button foot switch with this that will let you switch between the channels, turn the reverb on or off, the loop on or off, or the EQ on or off. And let's say you just hate dancing around with foot switches. Well, it is MIDI switchable programmable via control change and program change messages. So you can just use the MIDI messages to change the channels if you don't want to dance around, you know? And as of right now, at the time of making this video, this amplifier comes in at 3,549 clams. Now, this Mark 7 was sent to me by Mesa Boogie via Guitar Center, who did it for the specific purpose of sponsoring this video. If you are interested in any Mesa products, use the link down in the description. You are the best. I gotta put this down, it's really heavy. So what I want to do in today's video is explore the lore of the Mesa Mark series of amplifiers and go through the various modes on the Mark 7 that represent the legacy of the Mark series. As always, I'll leave chapters below if you want to go to a specific era or mode. Now, Gibson claims that this amp is Randall Smith's magnum opus and, quote, takes the knowledge, history, innovation, and performance and distills it into the simplest, most versatile, and smallest 90-watt Mark series amplifier ever. That's quite a claim, and I want to test that. But how do we even gauge a Mesa Mark series against its knowledge, history, innovation, and performance without first understanding the lineage of the Mark series? Well, I guess we're gonna have to do some sleuthing. I'm actually accidentally texting people. Whoops. There's a ton of information out there, and this is just what I've hobbled together from across the internet. Feel free to chime in if you think I'm incorrect about something. I probably am. Also, I want to acknowledge and give credit where it's due, so shout out to 5 Watt World for not only having one of the best mustaches in the game, but also making a really thorough video on the history of Mesa amplifiers if you want to delve further into the company and its other offerings. This gentleman also makes significantly less jokes than I do, so if you have thin skin and ironically being called a boomer makes you crash out even though you're technically a zennial, you can take your analog childhood and your daddy issues over there. Dead ass. There's also a great video series on Mesa's own channel with possibly the most YouTuber-y intro ever.
started with playing a joke on Barry Melton.
But once you skip past it, there's some really great interviews with the likes of Randall Smith, Carlos Santana, James Hetfield, among others. I don't want to regurgitate a ton of this information, so I'm going to paraphrase some of the earliest history, but if you want to learn more, you can go watch those videos, or read, if people still do that. One of the countless articles from guitar.com, Neural DSP has a really good one on the Mark II specifically, or on the website of the current parent company, Gibson. Randall Smith started his career as an amplifier designer the same way many of his peers did, by modifying amplifiers to give them characteristics that guitar players were looking for, but could not achieve out of the currently available amplifiers of the era. This would have been in the mid to late 60s. The first Boogie amplifier was a modified Fender Princeton. The legend goes that Carlos Santana had been in the Prune music store where Randall was then modifying the Princeton amplifiers and played one.
When he finished, he just smiled and said, "Shoot, man, that little thing really boogies."
And the name stuck and is still on the front panel to this day. And you know how these things go. You tell Carlos Santana, he tells the Rolling Stones. The next thing you know, everyone wants a Boogie.
Next thing I know, the Rolling Stones are all using Boogie amplifiers.
Randall had been buying them directly from Fender, modifying and selling them. After a few hundred of the amplifiers had been produced, Fender pulled the plug, get it, on his amplifier/mod/flip business, which is the catalyst for Randall creating Mesa Engineering and manufacturing his own amplifiers, the first of which are now known as Mark Is. The Mark I improved on the Fender Princeton by not only adding a larger power section, which was originally derived from the Fender Bassman, but also modifying the preamp circuit to produce more gain. In the 70s and the early 80s, the goal with modifying amplifiers was not only to create more gain without having to max out the amplifier's volume, but with better control and a tighter low-end response. Randall achieved this in the Mark I by cascading the gain circuit into 3 or 4 stages depending on which input was used. For me, one of the things that makes Boogies or the Mark series instantly recognizable is the 5-band EQ, a feature that was added during the Mark I production and stayed with the amplifier to its current day incarnation with the Mark VII. However, you could order these amplifiers and have them customized and remove the 5-band EQ if you wanted. We'll touch on that more later. All right, I'm plugged into the Mesa Mark VII. That is running through my Mesa 4x12 cabinet. This is one of my favorite cabinets. It's in tons of videos. You guys are probably very familiar with it. I'm also recording the cab clone DI out, you know, like the IR out from the Mesa Boogie Mark VII, you know, so that might be neat. I will of course put on screen what you're hearing. I'm playing this Strat to start out. This is an American Ultra 2 Strat. We're in the single coil mode right now on channel 1, clean. Just a really chimey, bright, sort of clean sound. I don't have the EQ engaged right now. This amp has a tremendous amount of features, so if it feels like I'm speeding through the things and not covering something you want to see, I really apologize about that. I'm just trying to get through the bulk of them for this video. I want to really test out if this covers the full tonal landscape of the Mesa Boogie series as proclaimed by Mesa or Gibson, depending on how you look at it. Also, you might know, like, I'm a metalhead. I'm gonna spend more time on the metal stuff. Yeah, okay. Maybe set it more something like that to kind of kill the high end so it's not so bright. Now, of course, you also have the EQ. You can see how I have the EQ set over there. You can turn this on or off for any of the individual channels. Just one of the brightest, snappiest, most shimmeriest cleans I've ever heard. And it makes sense if these amplifiers were essentially built off the back of the Princeton amplifiers, you know, they're modded Princetons originally. It makes sense that the clean channel would be like that. Let's go to the fat mode here. Warmer, right? Like thicker. I mean, it makes sense. It's called fat. Let's turn the gain up too. Man, it's just, yeah, very snappy sounding with a Strat. And obviously we'll thicken up a single coil pickup. We're in the single coil mode on the Strat right now. Let's engage the humbucker. Pretty great. And then finally, let's go to the crunch mode here, and I'm gonna go back up to, we'll actually cycle through the power so you can hear the difference in the crunch channel. So it gets a little bit warmer with each flick of the switch there. A little bit warmer, a little bit more mid-forward, a little more compressed sounding. I like the headroom of the 90 watt though. Let's go ahead and set this something like this, and then let's back off the gain here a little bit, turn up the master, and engage the EQ. So, just on channel 1, that is a tremendous amount of versatility for an amplifier, and we are a third of the way through this amplifier, so just keep all that in mind. But channel 1's really cool. To me, this is like, you know, the early sounds, I guess I would say. When we move to channel 2 here, these are the Mark 7 sounds, so I might actually do those last. I'll probably do those last. And then channel 3 here, you know, the classics over there on channel 3. Let's get out a different guitar and go over to channel 3, and then we'll come back to channel 2. Then came the Mark II series of amplifiers. The Mark II was born from the idea that the amplifier could have multiple channels or preamps running through a single power amp and cabinet, something that today is taken for granted. But back in the mid to late 70s, there were only single channel amplifiers, and as guitar-driven music evolved, artists found the idea of switching between clean and distorted tones without having two separate rigs to be highly desirable. Enter the Mark IIa. It introduced channel switching, a revolutionary concept for the gigging musician. It also increased the amount of gain on tap by adding a 5th gain stage for the newly named lead channel. But one of the downsides of the new channel switching system is it was really noisy. The Mark IIb followed, and though it still had its noisy channel switching as well as its noisy reverb, and the control panel was the same as the IIa, it now had a tube buffered effects loop, something that Mesa is credited with creating, and it would become a huge component as guitar players started using more and more rack mount equipment. It also introduced Mesa's 𝗦ci𝗰𝗶𝗹 power mode, which allows 2 tubes to operate in Class A and 2 to operate in Class AB power. The long short of this is it would allow you to get the sweetness and compression of Class A, but the clean punchy headroom of Class AB. It also would give you a much smoother feel without having to crank up the amplifier. The Mark IIb was shortly followed up with the 𝗦ci to combat not only noisy relay switching and reverb of the IIb, but also to improve on the effects loop, which due to the placement between 2 gain stages and it being instrument level sensitive and not being designed to work with high impedance effects, often led to loss of high end or even overall signal. The 𝗦ci was later modified into the 𝗦ci Plus to add a triggered EQ to the lead mode and the auto option for the treble shift, and now we have one of the most truly iconic metal amplifiers. Preamp was also revoiced and gave us the more aggressive and dynamic sound you can hear on the album. It is probably most synonymous with Metallica's Master of Puppets. You can say Dream Theater here if you want. I mean, I know you want to. If there's one thing that all Dream Theater fans have in common, it's telling you how big of fans they are of Dream Theater. Just saying. And now through all these revisions, we finally have in the 𝗦ci Plus what I think of, and probably many others as well, as the first fully realized metal amplifier from Mesa. It's kind of a fun little thing I came across too. Mesa actually offered to upgrade the 𝗦cis to 𝗦ci Pluses for existing customers for free, but the demand was so high that they had to cancel the offer because it started affecting the production of new amplifiers. The Mark III came out in 1985 and introduced a 3rd channel labeled Crunch. Several changes were made to the front panel and switching system, and though the Mark III would go through several revisions with slightly different voicings, the control panel and the functionality remained the same. The Mark III series of amplifiers is often cited as the most aggressive and raw sounding of all of the Mark series. And I just want to point out that at this time, everyone was starting to produce fully solid state amplifiers, and this was the trend in the guitar amp space through the early 90s, and Mesa never produced any. I think it says a lot about their dedication to their craft. While I would never hold it against a company, or an individual for that matter, that wanted to veer outside of their lane, I mean, I was a big fan of the Brock Lesnar era of the UFC, I have a lot of respect for Mesa for sticking to their guns, but being smart enough to implement technology without losing their core of their tube-driven legacy. You'll see what I mean about technology here in a minute. The Mark IV came in 1990 and is probably the most divisive in the lineup. Many people find them too thick sounding and difficult to dial in, but if you are a mega metalhead nerd like me, then that probably actually sounds appealing to you. What can I say? I like my amps like I like my peanut butter. The band that always comes to mind when I think of the Mark IV is Lamb of God, and specifically the album As the Palaces Burn. The first time I heard that album, the combination of the riffage and the tone blew my mind. The guitar sounded so thick, but yet articulate and aggressive, but the distortion is very richly harmonic, like a bell ringing or something. The Mark IV ran for 18 years and only had 2 revisions. The B revision slightly altered the voicing, but more importantly added a stereo effects loop, a detachable power cable, switchable reverb, and a preamp out. Okay, now we're in 2B mode on channel 3. I know this is a topic that has been beaten to death, but I think it's worth bringing up anytime you're talking about the Mark series of amplifiers. I think sometimes when people plug into these amplifiers, they have it set at like a neutral position, which with a lot of amplifiers will give you an idea of where to start from. With the Mark series of amplifiers, it might throw you off because this is what it sounds like. Not necessarily a bad sound, but probably not the sound you're looking for. And you know, the easiest way to remedy that is think about, we have the EQ off here. The EQ that is on the channel is in front of the gain stages. Let me just show you here, for example. These EQs are affecting the distortion texture. So if you turn the bass up, you know, you're getting a much warmer, maybe that's something desirable for you. But I think for most of us metalheads, you actually want to go the opposite way with it. I'm gonna leave the mid there, and then we're just gonna turn the presence up like that, something. You know, and now it's much tighter. The gain is much tighter. We're still not high gain yet. We will get there, but I just wanted to make it clear with that. All right, now I have this Epiphone 80s Explorer plugged in. It has EMGs. I think you could probably see where this is going, but you know, this is a great guitar to demonstrate some of these other modes. So we're on the 2B mode. I talked about that. Let's just turn the gain up from here. I don't even want to engage the EQ yet. Yeah, much tighter, you know? I mean, fuck it, like, let's just gain all the way up, right? I don't have school tomorrow. But it's still very, very warm, and if you're playing faster, more thrashy stuff like that, it's you know, it's good, but it's like we could do better, right? Especially at full gain here. So let's turn the gain back, you know, and we could shape this a little bit and add the EQ. Now this is usually what people do is they cut the low end out of the front and then add it in the back end. Here, I'm gonna turn the gain back up. Let's just show you what the EQ sounds like. I mean, it's really rocking, but you know, we're not quite metal yet. And then of course, obviously the legendary 2C and really the 2C plus came after the 2B. And what's cool is we can just switch this. And we automatically have way more gain. Let's set the gain back to something like that. I'm not gonna even change the EQ here. This is with the 5-band EQ off. Way more compressed, way more saturated. We need to turn up this level here a little bit to compensate. Let's just turn the gain up, yeah? Yeah, like we're metal now, right? We could probably make this a little bit brighter with the presence too. It does get a little bit duller because it's more compressed. Now let's add the EQ in the end here, and you can see I have this pretty scooped. These amps have a tremendous amount of mid-range, so I feel like when people see this scooped like that, they get this idea that you're just scooping out all of the mids. And it's like, no, you're actually leveling the mids out because this amp is so mid-forward. Let's just turn that bad boy on. It sounds so good, dude. It's just like the harmonic richness of the distortion is just really, really hard. I highly suggest that if you haven't played a Mark Series amplifier, specifically this one, if you get the opportunity to, like, you know, go to your music store, Guitar Center, whatever, music store, and check one out, spend a little bit of time with it and dial it in like this, because I find so many tones that I really enjoy while I'm dialing this in. And when you get a metal tone, that you really like out of it. It's just, yeah, man, it just hits different. This amp just definitely hits different. I like the 𝗦ci Plus mode a lot. Now, obviously, these modes are really stripped down versions from the original amplifiers. Like on the 𝗦ci Plus, you would have had a bunch of different controls like treble, poles, deep switches, all that stuff. You would have had 2 gain stages that you can adjust independently. All of that has been stripped down on this one, and you just kind of get like the meat and potatoes from that amplifier. You know, the iconic tone, I guess I would say. I just really enjoy this, man. I want to get out a different guitar for the Mark IV mode, so we're gonna do that here real quick. All right, I have this Gibson Flying V plugged in. I don't remember what pickups it has. I'll put them on screen right now. But I got this out and I wanted to do a little bit of overlap with this channel because I know a lot of people feel like active pickups sort of kill your tone. I feel like if it's good enough for Metallica, then, you know, who am I to judge? But I wanted to do this overlap on the 𝗦ci Plus channel with this guitar that has passive pickups in it, just so you can get, you know, an idea of what it would do with passive pickups. It still sounds awesome, right? I think it sounds great, man. Let's just, for funsies, turn the gain up a scotch. Super meaty chungus tones. Let's go to the Mark IV mode. I'm just gonna leave everything the same for sake of comparison. You can hear it gets more compressed, just more mean sounding. Let's turn this EQ off here just for funsies. This guitar is going out of tune. So let's switch over. We're gonna do the Mark VII modes now, and I'm gonna get out one of the guitars that I play quite often, just for frame of reference here. The Mark V came in 2009 and featured several of the previous Mark amplifiers' voicings. It was also by far the most versatile of the Mark amplifiers up to that point, with several different modes and even a channel assignable graphic EQ. 25 and 35 watt variations were also released, which started incorporating the cab clone technology. Remember from earlier when I was talking about the technology? This is what I meant. Then there was sort of a side quest that yielded legendary loot, the JP2C in 2016. It was meant to be a revival of the legendary 𝗦ci Plus, but designed in conjunction with John Petrucci. There's also the introduction of the shred setting because John Petrucci. The JP2C also included the cab clone DI or speaker defeat technology for playing silently without a guitar cab connected to the head. It also had 2 5-band EQs that could be toggled per channel, and MIDI control, as well as a whole host of knobs and switches on the front panel. The band I think about most when it comes to the JP2C is Dream Theater. See, See, I didn't forget about him. That's a callback, you nerd. Then there was the Mark 6, only there wasn't. All sorts of rumors exist around this amplifier, and the official story was that they felt like they had changed the amplifier so much from the original prototype that it justified a whole new series, but who really knows? If I'm being honest, I kind of prefer it this way. Sort of gives the amplifier a little mystique, you know? And that leads us all the way to the Mark 7, the amplifier being used in this video. It came out 3 years ago now, and I'm just catching up, but here we are now. Better late than never. Okay, this is my Deviant Guitars Grimoire. The reason that I wanted to get out this guitar is it has EMGx's in it, which are like kind of a happy medium, in my opinion, between active pickups and passive pickups. They are still active pickups, but they are more dynamic than your traditional EMGs. So I feel like it's a good middle ground. Such a metal amplifier, and it's just so crazy that you get all these sounds out of it, you know? I mean, I will touch on that more at the end of the video, but yeah, it's just nuts, man. So I wanted to do the overlap there with the Mark IV mode. Now, obviously, I have this boost pedal out here. This is the Devil overdrive from my company, Obsidian Audio. If you want more information on that, it's down in the description, but I'm using that to boost the amplifier. We're gonna go into why here when we get into the Mark 7 modes. This is how I normally have it set. I turned down the gain a little bit on Mark IV mode. Let's hear that mode boosted. Let's go to the Mark modes now. We're gonna turn the overdrive off for the time being. I'm going to set this the same as the fat mode on the other channel. That way you can just hear real quick the differences between the two. I feel like when you engage the EQ, it's not very noticeable. So we'll turn the EQ off on both the channels, but I'll just A/B this real quick. So here's the fat on channel 2. We'll turn the gain all the way up on both of them. So you can hear they're really similar. The mode on channel 2, which is like the Mark 7 version, feels a little bit more compressed, maybe a little bit more saturation, but they are very similar. Let's try the same thing with the crunch here. Yeah, so just a little bit more compressed, a little bit warmer sounding. Now let's go to the Mark 7 mode. I mean, this is the Mark 7 amplifier, right? And Mesa Boogie says that this Mark 7 mode gets into like rectifier territory, which is why I wanted to get out the boost pedal, because you'll see. Okay, we're now on the Mark 7 mode. I have a different shirt on, don't worry about it. This out of all the modes was the most tricky for me to dial in. I will go into why, but it's also the most interesting, I think. Like I would say that this channel yields the most interesting results, okay? So Mesa Boogie says that basically this mode is the marriage in between a Mark Series amplifier and a rectifier. We have the EQ off. We are on the 90 watt mode. All the settings are at noon. You can see the settings. That's not where we're gonna end up. This is kind of interesting. So normally you would cut all of the bass out on this knob, but let me show you something here in terms of like the gain structure with the bass. So you do want some bass in there. It actually like adds to the overall gain structure. I would describe these controls as very synergistic or interactive. And when I was dialing this in at first, I was trying to like kill all of the low end, and I just was not getting the distortion that I was expecting. You know what I mean? And then I like played around with the pre-EQ and was like, oh, this one's a little bit different. Let's turn the gain all the way up. You know, it really does have that rectifier thing going on, that like snarl, just angry. So it's pretty cool. We get, you know, a more looser sort of rectifier sound. I want to dial this gain back here. So let's turn the EQ on this mode. Woo! This might be one of my favorite sounds on this amplifier. And it really is just a nice marriage between, am I slapping my leg enough? It really is a nice marriage between the Mark Series amplifier and a rectifier. Let's boost it. You can see I have the mids boosted a lot here. What the mids do on the Devil overdrive, it's similar to like maybe a 𝗦ci preamp, Dirty Tree, Fortin 33, something like that, where it has like a really clacky mid-range. And it's something I know people like a lot with rectifiers. I'm gonna kill the gain a little bit on this too, because I find the input on this mode to be a little sensitive for boost pedals, but you know, your mileage may vary on that. Just that real fuck you energy from the Badlander amplifier that I liked so much is just, it's here. And you know, the Badlander was a 25 watt amp. I've yet to check out the 100 watt version. I want to someday. Mesa, what's up? But you know, in the 90, yeah, it's good. I like it. I don't need to sit here and glaze this amplifier anymore, okay? Okay, there you have it. That is just a snapshot of the Mesa Boogie Mark 7. Obviously, this amplifier has a ton of features, a ton of different things you can do with it, but I think it's really cool. The thing that I like the most about this amplifier is how many things I came across that sounded great. I mean, it's not uncommon with amplifiers to have multiple positions they sound really good in, but I found that, you know, a lot of amplifiers, they do certain things really well and then other things like not so great. And this is an amplifier that covers just a huge array of different sounds, and it reproduces those sounds like really, really well. You know, everything that I was dialing in on this amplifier, I was enjoying, you know, even the clean tones, which is weird for me, you know, but I was even enjoying the clean sort of spanky tones with the Stratocaster earlier. And I do agree with Mesa that they captured this very wide spectrum of sounds and put it in a small package that also is relatively easy to use. If you know the thing about the Mark Series with the EQ being in front of the gain stage and then the 5-band EQ being the post EQ, if you understand how that works and how to dial it in, Everything else is super straightforward. Just tons of different modes, tons of different options. It's just really great. All right, massive thank you to Mesa Boogie and Guitar Center for sending this amplifier out to me to check out for you guys. But most importantly, thank you guys for being here with me. I really appreciate you. If you like this video, do the things like hitting the like button so that YouTube knows that you like it. If you really like what I do here on the channel and you want behind the scenes content, we're actually redoing the Patreon right now. I'm trying to structure it a little bit more so it's like more straightforward. But if you want behind the scenes access and access to like a Discord server that I'm in super regularly, then you could join these wonderful human beings. This scrolling list of names. These are my patrons. So, you know, you can join that list. There's more information on that down in the, there is more information on that down in the description below. I'm botching this, but we're just gonna roll with it. I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much for being here with me. This one was a lot of fun. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.